Now, look, we have a lot of money to make from this oil project, and whatever us, the company who own the project, whatever we find, we own. That's the goal of our. That's our goal. We own what we find and what we build, etc. I'm the big capitalist who only cares about making money for me and my company. And I'm going to be really annoying whilst being like this. It's okay. I understand. Good. You're an idiot. Well, I'll just go and die then and become one of those ghosts. See how you like that? You'll probably be more likable. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 9, Episodes 3 and 4, Under the Lake and Before the Flood. Okay, a quick recap where we currently stand with Doctor Who at the moment. The last two episodes, Series Nine's opener, The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, were a pretty weak start. They weren't that very good. Prior to that two-parter, we had 3 out of 4 pretty mediocre episodes. After the brilliant flatline, we got In the Forest of the Night, which I like and enjoy, but I know it's not that great, and I understand why lots of people aren't very keen on it and find it boring. Dark Water, Death in Heaven is also not very good. In fact, maybe that one should have gone underneath Forest of the Night on the ranking, but never mind. And then Last Christmas, I thought was good, but it was very complicated, certainly for Christmas. So we had 3 mediocre episodes rounding out Series 8. We had a good but complicated Christmas special, and then we had a pretty poor, or at least bad start to Series 9 with the first 2 episodes. So, after all that, what's Under the Lake and Before the Flood like? Absolutely fantastic. This is a fantastic story. Finally, we haven't had one of these since Flatline. I mean, it's not been a huge gap, but it's been big enough to feel we felt the ripples. Yeah, Last Christmas was a little bit of a slight saviour, but not enough. But this is a fantastic story. Everything just works with this one. I don't know what happened. Maybe Toby Whithouse just delivered an outstanding script. Maybe the directors and the cinematographers and the camera people and the production designers and the editors are on top form. Maybe everyone thought this was going to be the series opener, and then realised there was a Dalek one and thought, oh well, never mind. We'll just do this as well as we can, and we'll do the Dalek one as well as we can. But whilst this one was amazing, the last story was amazing on an execution standpoint, but the story was bad. This one has an amazing story and is brilliantly executed. I'll get the negatives out of the way first. My only real kind of negative is that Clara's not quite as good as she was in the previous story. I actually thought Clara was pretty good in Magician's Apprentice, which is familiar. I think she goes down a little bit here, but I don't think she goes down too much. I don't dislike her as much as other people do. In fact, I was okay with her in this story, and Jenna Coleman did a good job. I think it's a step down from the previous story, which is probably the only thing that's a step down from the previous story. But that'll be it. I also think Colin McFarlane, whilst he has a lot of great use as a ghost, doesn't get as much use of him prior to being killed as a ghost. He gets a couple of minutes on screen in the pre-title scene, but then he gets killed and turned into a ghost. And I think, whilst that's great, the actor is a great, notable, not famous, but notable actor, Colin McFarlane, who might have been in Doctor Who in something else as well. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to check that later, but he's quite a well-known actor, and he's also a pretty great well-known actor as well. I think he should have gotten a bit more to do before he died, but nevertheless, he still does a great job before he dies and also after he dies when he comes back as a ghost. Oh, and the fact that it's the character MacDonald, with some of the dialogue she gets and some of the scenes we get in the before the flood, does imply that, oh yeah, she's definitely dead. The signs are all there. Okay, besides all that, the story is more or less faultless. For starters, we probably get one of the best guest castings one of these stories for a while, maybe since Robot of Sherwood, or Mummy on the Orient Express, one or the other. But this is a fantastic guest cast. All of the characters are likable, except the greedy capitalist business guy, but he doesn't stick around very long alive, which is pretty great. Back in the classic series, I used to find these characters that I would call those characters, which I really hated, and I really wanted to punch them in the fucking face. The worst case of this was Chancellor Auton from the Monster of Peladon, who I really wanted to give a big bloody beat up because I really hated the character. The new series doesn't have as many of those types of characters, and I guess this guy sort of represents those type of characters. But this time round, the Doctor gets to insult the guy, and then he gets turned into a ghost. He's the third ghost we see on screen, so he's the second person we see die. And it's brilliant. He's a stupid idiot who does stupid, idiotic stuff. He's trying to be a greedy businessman. Yeah, he's not totally unlikable. I guess that's the actor, to be honest. I think the actor manages to save the character. Plus, Toby Whithouse doesn't go all the way with the hatred, trying to make us hate the character, but we dislike him enough so that we can all cheer when he does die, and which is thankfully soon enough. Although, if you wanted to really toy with the audience's emotions, you would have made the character live until probably the cliffhanger. But I think Toby Whithouse did a brilliant job with creating a character that I would call one of those characters, if it wasn't for the fact he dies soon enough. Good! Good! But then again, he wasn't intolerable. Just a bit dislikable, but I think the actor manages to prevent him from being completely dislikable. Just a dislikable enough. Which I also praise the actor for. I think he did a good job. So besides obvious greedy, idiotic business guy, we have a fantastic array of supporting characters. And like I said, greedy business guy gets killed off soon enough, so we don't really need to worry about him alive. We need to worry about his ghost, though. As for everybody else, absolutely fantastic. MacDonald, a great character. Tough, resilient, you go girl character who's also a fangirl of the Doctor. Great character writing. Pity she dies though. So we also have is it Bennett, I think, who kind of likes MacDonald. He's kind of romantically likes her, I guess, but he doesn't really try to show it too often. At least not until she dies anyway. But we can tell he likes her quite a bit, and I suppose at the end we know he has definitely had feelings for her. He's a pretty good character. He's kind of a cynical character, but he's pretty cool and pretty fun. He might even be my favourite. I don't know why, but he might be my favourite supporting character of the episode. He's just so cynical and quite stubborn in places, and also he gets a good mini character arc in the fourth episode, the second part of this story. Cass and None are also great characters. I like how Nunn steps up to do some involvement in before the flood, because Cass wouldn't let him see the writing inside the ship that everybody else sees, which means the ghosts won't hurt him. That's why they didn't hurt the Doctor and Clara until they showed them the writing inside the spaceship, and then they went homicidal. But with Lunn, he wasn't allowed to see it by Cass, so when MacDonald's ghost steals Clara's phone that she needs, then Lunn is able to step up. However, although that phone doesn't end up being too much relevant to the rest of the story, so it really is mostly a plot device to get Lunn to do something and then secure him, Cass, and Clara into a trap. Cass is also a really great character. She takes charge of the base after Colin McFarlane's character dies, and she's deaf. That's a really interesting point. She's deaf, so Lunn has to translate for her. Fun fact, the character is also played by a deaf actress, who is the second deaf actor to appear in a Doctor Who story after the guy who played Tyson in Destiny of the Daleks in 1979. Although that character wasn't a deaf character, the actor was. this time we got a deaf actor playing a deaf character, and it's done brilliantly. Especially love the bit where she stops, touches the ground, and she feels the vibrations of Colin McFarlane's character's ghost dragging an axe behind him. I don't know how she was able to sense that before touching the floor. Maybe she could feel it in the feet and then put her hand down um, to clarify. And Dan, that's where we got that moment, and it was really cool. She doesn't really talk that much, but I still think she's a really great character. And I think the use of a deaf actor in this story was really well done. It's almost certainly more tasteful than what they do with Bethany Black, the first trans actor in a Doctor Who story, and what they get her / them to do in Sleep No More. On the plus side, we do get the first blind actress in Series 11, and she does a really good job, and the character's done pretty well. More on that when we get to Series 11's episode, It Takes You Away. I also like how Toby Whithouse brings back, but brings another alien that he's already, an alien race that he's introduced. He brings another person from that race. So remember in the God Complex, Toby Whithouse wrote a character called Gibbous, which was from Tivoli, I think. That character was played by David Walliams. Another member of that character's species appears in this story, played by Paul Key, and he is called Prentice. He's the other ghost, and he's in the stories, he's the Undertaker for the Fisher King, which is a race that enslaves the Travolians. However, the Fisher King turns out not to be as dead as everyone suspected, and it turns out it was part of his plan to survive and then conquer the universe, I suppose, by faking his death, being sent to a backwater planet, Earth in this case, and then killing people to send out a message to his forces so that they can then invade. That's actually a really good plan, I think. It's not overly complicated. It makes sense. I suppose the method is a slightly more complicated, but it makes sense. It's basically a more or less foolproof plan. The only downside to his plan is he has to wait about, it will take 200 years, 150 to 200 years. But I guess time is no matter for him, so long as he's in his stasis cube. And I love the confrontation between him and the Doctor in the end of episode 4. It is just spectacular. I think everyone is just on full throttle with this story. They just do an absolutely amazing job here. They just do so spectacular. Fantastic script, fantastic acting, great supporting characters. It looks absolutely brilliant on a visual level, stunning cinematography. I also love how they did the Russian town in Scotland, which is the Russian town is kind of what the military base is training for offences in Russia during the Cold War. I love Toby Whithouse's references to previous stories and previous events and previous adventures and previous characters. He does such a good job, and it's not in your face. It's a couple of there is a lot of them. There's a lot of references now and again, but it still feels really good. It feels like Whithouse actually gets fan service. Maybe he could have dialed it down a little bit, but I still think he did a good job with it. Or at least, at the very least, I appreciated the references more than I get on some of the other stories. And I just like this one overall. And even though I thought Clara was a bit of a step down from the last story, I thought she was still pretty good. Not amazing, but still pretty good. Jenna Coleman did a great job with her. So really, I don't have much to fault with this story. It's pretty brilliant. And I love how it wraps up with how the Fisher King's defeated and what's actually inside the stasis vault and there's apparent ghost of the Doctor. It's all handled really well and really brilliantly handled. I also like the Doctor's cards because he's still not 100% aligned with other characters' emotions, although the 12th Doctor in this series seems to be a bit more empathetic towards people than he was in the previous series. But I still like how they tie it in with the character from the previous series, and he's still going through those stages. He's still got to learn a bit, and with the emotional side, he's still got to learn a bit about that. But I think the cards work really well with what they were doing with that. I also think the sonic sunglasses actually get some decent use in this story. I forgot to talk about them in the last review. The sonic sunglasses are replacing the sonic screwdriver for this series, and I do like the sonic sunglasses, but they should not replace the sonic screwdriver. They should be alongside the sonic screwdriver, or don't bother. It's just some way to make the 12th Doctor more of a hip, cool Doctor, and they're trying to turn him into a parody of the 11th Doctor. But in this story, they actually get some pretty good usage, including when the Doctor's projecting his own ghost across time and space. It's worked really well. So I think the sonic sunglasses do get some pretty good use in this story, and there are other stories where they will be used, where they get some good use, like when the Doctor goes blind in series 10, and also when they get used for a funny moment, like in the next episode, which I will touch upon then because it's a funny scene. I want to save it for that review. So yeah, so I think the sonic sunglasses actually do get good use here, and I don't mind the sonic screwdrivers. I just think they should not have replaced the sonic screwdriver. They should have been alongside the sonic screwdriver, but they should not have replaced it. So I'm fine with the sunglasses, but they should not replace the screwdriver. They should be with it. Right, I think I got my point across. Alright, there was one other thing I was going to say I liked, but I can't quite remember what it was. I liked the music. It wasn't that I was going to mention, but it was something else. I'm not sure. Oh, the opening to episode 4. The whole stuff where the Doctor basically breaks the fourth wall and gives the audience a lesson in... I can't remember what the term is, but he uses Beethoven as an example. A time-travelling fan goes back to try and see Beethoven, but nobody knows who Beethoven is. He hasn't existed. So the time traveller, having all his Beethoven music notes for him to sign, publishes the notes and becomes Beethoven, and history remains on track. Of course, Beethoven really did exist. The Doctor has a couple of funny lines about meeting him, but he was using Beethoven as an example. And I love the shoulder shrug, head turn, nod thing that the Doctor does at the very end of Before the Flood. I thought that was a really great shot. Fantastic. Want to see that a few more times in a couple 12th Doctor promotion stuff. It's really good. So to wrap up this review, Under the Lake and Before the Flood is a fantastic story. It's certainly what the series needed after the kind of poor start that the last two-parter story was. This is a really great episode and really fun and enjoyable. Toby Whithouse does a fantastic script. Production team is on full throttle and the cast is brilliant and playing some great characters. Even the character you're supposed to dislike, you don't dislike too much because it's still a fun performance. Oh, and a Doctor saying, "It's okay, I understand. You're an idiot." It's one of the best lines. Is one of the best, or at least one of the 12th Doctor's best lines, and probably the best line of the series. It's just so good. I highly recommend you check this these two episodes out, or check them out again if you haven't seen them for a while. They are genuinely brilliant. Two really great episodes making a really great story. So I will be giving Under the Lake and Before the Flood you guessed it, a 10 out of 10. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really well done. Everyone was just on full throttle with this story. And after the disappointment of the last story, we really needed this. So, that's it from my review of Under the Lake and Before the Flood. Can Series 9 reach the heights of this story? Well, we got Heaven Sent coming up, so yes. But will anything else? Well, I don't think so, but we might get a few more other good stuff. I know this series has got the reputation of being pretty bad, although critics seem to love it. But the fans not so much. But despite its negative reputation within the fan base, there might be some other good stuff somewhere along the line. Case in point, next episode has Jamie Matheson returning to write an episode, although he's co-writing with Stephen Moffat. So we'll see how that episode goes down. When I first saw it, I really liked The Girl Who Died. But what will my opinion on a rewatch be like? Well, stay tuned till next time to find out for The Girl Who Died. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne YouTube channel.